I've gone I've gone back and forth on whether or not I wanted to film this video or speak about this topic, but the more news I see about it come out and the more I hear people talking about it and the more I stay silent, um I feel like I have a responsibility to share. Um Trigger warning for those of you out there. This story has to do with things that happen to minors, and things like grooming and luring and a lot of really serious stuff. And I like my chest is just like tight. um, Recently, a trusted adult that was a big part of my life um, was arrested in connection to luring minors in attempt to have some form of sexual contact with them. And though that is not my direct story or experience, I feel a need to share my experiences and my thoughts on all that is occurring. Just because maybe it can help stop this from happening again in the future, or it can help someone who has also gone through similar experiences. And I don't want to stay silent on the matter any longer. So, so to begin, I'm just gonna kind of give you a little bit of backstory. Um, this was a former teacher and advisor of mine that I had in high school. He was funny. He was cool. Um, I feel like he had really close relationships with his students. um, and thinking about that now kind of makes me sick to my stomach. Um, I wanted to be his friend, and I got really close to him in my junior and senior year. I even went on a trip to Florida, a school trip with him as an advisor. Um, and I knew he was a heavily drinking individual, and he liked to party, and you know, I didn't think much of it. You know, he's not the first adult that I've seen that likes a few drinks, and I would poke fun at it. I would make jokes. Um, but it wasn't until I was a freshman in college when I had, you know, moved to Savannah, Georgia, and I wasn't in North Dakota full time anymore. Um, and I would come back for different holidays, Christmas. I would come back for summer break. Um, and I would still be in touch with this individual. Like, Ben had me on Snapchat. We had each other's phone numbers. Um, and we would talk frequently. You know, he became a friend, and he was a mentor of mine, and someone I really looked up to, and really um, wanted to learn from. And I remember multiple times where he would text me or call me and snap me asking if I could give him a ride because he couldn't drive. You know, rides home from Christmas parties and rides home from the state fair where he was just too drunk, and I would do it a lot. I remember one specific experience where I picked them up from a Christmas party, and I was underage. I was probably 19, 19 or 20, and he offered me a drink. I didn't take it. Um but he had offered me a drink, and I'm glad I didn't take it. But I drove him home. And then fast forward a few years, when COVID hit, I pretty much moved back to North Dakota for a long duration of time because of the pandemic. And um I hung out with him every week. I mean, multiple times a week, almost every day. And by hang out, I mean I would go and drink with him and his friends. And he's about 10 years older than me. So uh, I didn't think it was weird in the time. I didn't think it was strange. Um, I just thought this was a really good friend of mine and someone that I looked up to. So I wanted to be around him, and I wanted to be a part of his group. And, he was friends with other people around my age, closer to my age than his. And so we would all hang out and we would drink, and he would tell me all these stories about the girls he's attracted to, um, and certain stories about people he had made out with that I was like, that's weird. That shouldn't be happening. And I didn't do anything about it. Um, because they were consenting adults. Um, but they were my age. And I don't know how much truth there was to his stories. Um, I never witnessed it. I was just told these stories. Um, there are nights that I would get so drunk because it was like the drinks would keep coming, and I was in a really low spot because school was basically no more. Like, I was doing online classes and I was back home in North Dakota. Um so I would get really drunk, and I remember specifically one night when I got so drunk, and he worked at a funeral home. Sorry, one second. he worked at a funeral home, and he said, "Do you want to see something?" And it was like, I don't know, midnight, maybe even 2. It was maybe after bar close, probably. And he brought me downstairs at the funeral home, and he showed me a dead body. And he was laughing and making jokes. And then we proceeded to leave, and he would drive, and he would be blackout drunk, or at least acted like he was. And he'd be like, "Should I take a right or a left?" I'm incoherent at this point. And the only reason why I can piece most of this night together are because I have Snapchat saved on my phone that I found the next day. Uh, Snapchats of me at a lake, slurring my words. It's so embarrassing. And nothing happened, to my knowledge, further than that. And then eventually I got a job that I loved, and I started working a lot, and my focus shifted to work and school. Um, and slowly he stopped reaching out, and I didn't really understand why. I would hear rumblings about him talking about things, and while this is all hearsay, I never heard it directly from his mouth, but I would hear him talking about my job and um about me. And I'm sure he talked about me, and I'm sure he told a lot of stories about me. And I just didn't understand why my friend would do that. Someone I looked up to, and idolized in a way and put on this pedestal. And basically he just cut me out of his life, right? And I opened up about my experiences with a very, very close friend. And as I'm explaining my experiences and the things that happened, they're like, "Hunter, I think you were being groomed. Mind you, this conversation happened 3 years ago, 4 years ago. When you realize something like that is happening to you, and you connect the dots, and you just realize you ignored all of the red flags and disassociate. It's really scary. It's really scary. And I thought it was so cool. Thought it was really cool that I had became friends with someone I looked up to who was a teacher and was older than me and had lived all these experiences through life, and he made himself seem so much cooler and better than he was. It's really hard. It's really hard for me to even think about the good times during that period. It's really hard to be like happy about the good times that I had and the people I met, and it's sick. I trusted him. A lot of people trusted him. He was a teacher. Parents sent their kids to learn from him. And I know I'm not the only one that this has happened to. Fast forward a few years after our friendship had ended, I found out that he was resigning from Minot Public Schools after 10 years. And I would run into him different places, bars or the fair, or whatever, and I would just try to figure out why he wouldn't even look at me or talk to me or come over and say something. My friends and I, we all just had this eerie feeling that maybe he didn't resign at all. You know, don't put a stain on mine at public schools for firing a potential pedophile, someone who took advantage of his position and his power. Someone who was an upstanding citizen of the city, a former city council board member, someone who was so involved in the community. And then fast forward to just a few months back, the news breaks that he was arrested in connection to a situation where he was luring minors to perform sexual acts. talking to minors on Snapchat and having them meet him in a park. like it makes me sick. It I physically feel and thank God these kids brought friends. The kid brought friends to catch him. Um Fast forward, he pleads not guilty. Fast forward again, he changes his plea to guilty, and they give him 2 years supervised probation and make him register as a sex offender. And it's not enough. It's not enough. This sort of thing shouldn't happen, period. But when it does, there needs to be consequences. So while I could sit there and I could watch this unfold and throw my hands up and say karma's got it, um, I feel as though staying silent wouldn't make me any better than he is. And while I know there is a special place in hell for him, I truly don't believe that life here on earth should be easy for him either. And I know it's not going to be easy for him, but the fact that he just gets to walk after doing this to kids, high school students, the same age group that he was teaching, the same age group he was around every single day, the same kids that would probably grow up and then be hanging out with him at bars and driving him home from concerts when he's too drunk. When he does something to them, he just gets to be let off with probation. You seriously think he's not gonna do this again? You think he's gonna learn from his lesson? He's gonna You think he's just gonna slap on the wrist and I'm better, I'm fine? No, he has a sickness. He's not right, and he's not a good person. No matter what you think he has done to help the community or how much you love him or how good of a friend he was to you, this is not okay. And sweeping this type of behavior under the rug only tells him that, oh, it's okay. And while he already lived a pretty lonely life, I hope it gets even more lonely. I hope all of you who have been close to him look inward and think to yourself, is this someone that I want in my life? Is this someone who genuinely makes me a better person? Don't don't try and justify his actions. Don't make excuses for him. I pray for him, but I don't feel sorry for him. He didn't get what he deserves, and that pisses me off. I don't want anyone to have to go through that. Grooming or worse. But I am here to tell you that if you do, talk to your people. Don't hold it in. Reach out if you need help. I'll put some links in the description below that hopefully can help you. Um and if something feels off, please tell someone. If you see something, say something, because so many people saw it. So many people said, I always knew it was weird what he was doing. They said it was always weird how he would befriend and hang out with his former students, but they didn't do anything about it. If you see something, say something. I wish I would have earlier. I just don't want it to happen again. And I fear with him out there, that potential of it happening again is too high. But I think that's all I got to say right now. So just know there's help out there. And you're not alone. Thanks for watching.